Okay, let's have at tonight's next big question. And the great PR slugging match between Governor Sarah Palin of Alaska and David Letterman over an ill-conceived joke he made, he says unwittingly, about the governor's younger daughter. Who comes out ahead after tonight's apology from Letterman? Here's the close of his mea culpa. So, I would like to apologize especially to the two daughters involved, Bristol and Willow, also to the governor and her family and everybody else who was outraged by the joke. I am sorry about it. I'll try to do better in the future. Weighing in on who gets the last laugh after an unfunny punchline and a lot of hard feelings, Steve Kornacki of the New York Observer, Sam Seder, co-host of Air America's Break Room Live, Rehan Salam of the New America Foundation, and New York Daily columnist and radio talk host Errol Lewis with us as well. Welcome to everybody. Sam, let me start with you because I know how you feel about this, or at least how you felt a couple of days ago.
Right.
Should he have apologized? Were you disappointed that he caved?
You know, look, he can do whatever he wants, and if it helps his ratings, all the better. But I'll tell you, in his statement, when he said he was watching the news hour, I think, and that's where he realized that people misinterpreted, my shock really came like, you've got 1 hour to do the news, and you're talking about this? I mean, this story has gone on way too long, and I think it's because basically Palin was fundraising off it.
Let's just remind people what the joke was. I want to play it real quick for anybody who didn't see it, the few who didn't. Take a look.
One awkward moment for Sarah Palin at the Yankee game. During the 7th inning, her daughter was knocked up by Alex Rodriguez.
And of course, he said he meant her older daughter, Bristol Palin, not the younger one. What did you think?
I think Sam makes a good point. A lot of this has to do with the culture wars and the fact that David Letterman represents one swath of the country and Sarah Palin represents another. And I think a big part of Sarah Palin's appeal has been this idea that she's been persecuted by lots of folks who kind of have poked fun at her family. I think that helps her really connect with a lot of Americans, and I think that that's what drove this story forward.
And how brilliant of her, if you believe that, how brilliant of her then to get on every talk show she could after this happened and make the most of the moment.
And that's a little cynical because I think that Letterman's joke was ungracious? Sure. I think that, you know, Letterman, personally, I think he's hilarious. But, I mean, he traffics in this kind of thing. And I think that, you know, for it to become this kind of a moment, you have to have that stew of kind of cultural, political conflict all mixed in together. So I'll bet that Sarah Palin really was outraged because I believe she really does feel as though she's been persecuted by the media to some degree.
Right.
So everyone's being totally genuine here. It's just that there's a deep misunderstanding between these two cultures.
What do you think, Eric?
Well, genuine in the most Hollywood fake kind of a way, I think. I think both sides win, frankly. Sarah Palin is a little bit too offended by this. You know, there was a lot more that has been said, even in that routine where Letterman made some comment about her wearing, you know, sort of a slutty flight attendant was her look or something like that. Other comics have made much more crude jokes, and she, in fact, has gone on those shows on Saturday Night Live. She always has been. She chose to take offense here, understandably. You know, either daughter, 14, 18, doesn't really make any difference. She took offense. She's caused a world of trouble for David Letterman. On the other hand, he shot up in the ratings and beat his lead rival, the new Tonight Show host. So everybody wins.
Yeah, well, that's the other race. We talk about the 2012 race with Sarah Palin. There's also the 2009 race between Conan O'Brien and David Letterman. And I think David Letterman is now taking the lead, and it's probably because of a controversy like this. But, you know, it works out terrifically for Sarah Palin, too, because, you know, it's exactly right. You know, the media is the enemy. David Letterman is the enemy. He's been a lot harsher than Justice Jay Leno was or Conan O'Brien is about going after Republicans, and Republicans know that, and they take note of it. He is the liberal late-night talk show host in their view. So, you know, if he makes a joke, whether you're really offended or not, you pretend to be offended, you act like you're offended, and, you know, they're going to be with you. The Republican base is going to be with you.
Well, let me ask you that. We often hear Republicans complain about a political correctness run amok, and yet is that a little bit of what we're seeing right now?
Right, of course. They're embracing political correctness now, and I think the Republicans have finally found an issue that they can own in this environment, and that, of course, is the war on jokes. And they have struck the first blow, and I think, you know, this seems to be all that the Republicans have left, is this sense of somehow they're oppressed by the Hollywood/New York comedic intelligentsia, I guess.
Can I say something, though? Democrats are, in fairness, guilty of this, too. And this is what political debate really has become in this country. And I think it's the most frustrating thing, whether it's a joke or just some sort of statement that somebody makes. We take 1 or 2 sentences and we dissect it and we put it through this 1 or 2 week cycle where the whole thing is one side is outraged and aggrieved by it and demanding an apology, and the other side says, no, look at the context, or no, it was a joke.
Right.
And this is what political debate really has become in this country. This was what the entire Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama campaign was like to a lot of people. Now, clearly this was a joke.
The debate
Clearly
we
it was
just
aimed at
had
an
between
18-year-old daughter.
Leon Panetta today.
Yeah, it's just too much.
Go ahead.
I want to push back a little on what Sam said. I think that political correctness, when we think about it and its pernicious effects, we're thinking about stultifying debate. But I think that when you're talking about, making ungracious remarks about someone's kid, and I think that we all agree that that's kind of where this kind of took a different turn, that's not really about political correctness. I do think that a lot of Republican conservatives feel that, there's a couple of things that are sacred, and one of them is kind of the family, leave the kids alone. And I think that,
yeah, but
in
this day and age, in political campaigns, how often do we see politicians using their children, putting them out there front and center to an
Can we say
that's a very good point.
This is not a case of an 18-year-old who had a child and wanted to be left alone. She's become the national spokeswoman for the abstinence campaign.
Absolutely.
She's made herself a public figure, and she is an adult. I don't think this is a kid who's asking to be kept away and shielded from this. I might agree with you if that were the case, but she's put herself out there, and Sarah Palin's put her out there.
And David Letterman is a comedian. I mean, he's not making a remark. He's making a joke on a comedy show. So this isn't a case where you have some politician who's making a remark, or you're having even a commentator who's making a remark. This is a comedian, and I'll tell you,
it's a great
Jay
shield,
Leno
though, isn't
and
it?
Conan
Because, for
both
example,
made jokes.
if you've got The Daily Show, I mean, the genius of the show is that, hey, we're comedians here, hey, ho, but then they want to be taken seriously as incisive thinkers and commentators. You know what I mean? I think that it's kind of a funny balance, and you're right that we all don't know exactly where to go because we can all set our own boundaries. We can all decide, hey, I'm a serious commentator now. You need to listen to me and take me seriously. I'm the voice of our generation. I'm the true arbiter, which is kind of a role that Jon Stewart has often played. But then again, when he goes a little bit too far, hey, I'm a comedian.
Well, Letterman does occasionally step into serious debate. After 9/11, he made a big splash by sort of coming out and saying, look, it's okay to be funny. I want to try and do my small part as a comedian to get the country back on track. This had nothing of that. There wasn't a hint of a policy solution or any kind of serious thought anywhere near that. It was just a dumb wisecrack that really blew up in his face.
All right, guys, we got to end on that note. Many thanks. Good panel, a good discussion. Who knew we could keep it going so long? Larry King Live coming up at the top of the hour. Larry, what's going on tonight?
Well, my dear Campbell, we've got an exclusive with David Cook. He's going to tell us all about life after the Idol and how he's doing since his brother's death.